In the early 13th century, China faced one of the greatest threats in its long history as the Mongols advanced from the northern steppes with unmatched speed and discipline. At that time, China was divided between powerful dynasties yet protected by enormous walls, fortified cities, and generations of military knowledge that had defeated countless enemies before. The Mongols, however, brought a new kind of warfare combining mobility, psychological terror, and long-term siege strategy that slowly broke even the strongest defenses. The first major target was the Jin dynasty, which ruled northern China and controlled vital trade routes, fertile lands, and major cities. Beginning in 1211, Mongol forces crossed into Jin territory, launching rapid raids that destroyed armies before they could properly assemble. When cities resisted the Mongols, Gate did not rush the walls, but instead surrounded them, cutting food, water, and communication until starvation and fear weakened the defenders from within. Over years of relentless pressure, internal rebellion, and continuous sieges, the Jin dynasty collapsed in 1234, opening the heart of northern China to Mongol control. Yet the conquest of China was far from complete because the southern Song dynasty still stood strong in the south, protected by rivers, mountains, and some of the most advanced city defenses in the medieval world. Unlike earlier enemies, the Song understood the Mongol threat and prepared for a war of endurance rather than quick victory. What followed was a prolonged struggle lasting decades, marked by stubborn resistance and countless last stands. Inside walled cities, where soldiers, civilians, and officials fought side by side. The Song relied on naval power, river defenses, crossbows, and early gunpowder weapons to slow the Mongol advance, and for many years they succeeded. The most famous and decisive struggle of this era was the siege of Xiangyang, which began in 1267 and became the key to southern China. Xiangyang was more than a city, it was a gateway, and as long as it held, the Song dynasty could survive. For 6 exhausting years, Mongol armies surrounded Xiangyang, launching assaults that were repeatedly repelled by determined defenders who received supplies through daring river missions. Realizing brute force was not enough, the Mongols adapted by bringing engineers from across their empire, including experts from the Islamic world who introduced massive counterweight trebuchets, capable of destroying walls once thought invincible. When these machines were finally deployed, the balance of power shifted, and in 1273, Xiangyang fell after years of heroic resistance. With its fall, the Mongol advance accelerated as city after city collapsed under overwhelming pressure. That once shielded the Song now became invasion routes, carrying Mongol fleets deep into Chinese territory. The final act came in 1279 at the Battle of Yamen, where the last loyal Song forces made their stand at sea against an unstoppable enemy. Surrounded and defeated, the remaining officials chose death over surrender, ending the Song dynasty and completing the Mongol conquest of China. Yet this was not a simple tale of defeat, because Chinese resistance had reshaped the conquerors themselves. During decades of warfare, the Mongols absorbed Chinese technology, administration, and culture, transforming from raiders into rulers. Under Kublai Khan, the Yuan dynasty was proclaimed, marking a new era born from war, endurance, and sacrifice. The Chinese wars against the Mongols were not decided by a single battle, but by years of sieges, patience, and courage, where every wall became a last stand and every city a symbol of resistance against the most powerful empire the world had ever known. These conflicts demonstrated that while walls could eventually fall, the human will to resist could delay even destiny itself. Families endured famine, soldiers fought without hope of relief, and leaders faced impossible choices that defined their legacy for centuries. Every delay forced the Mongols to rethink strategy, logistics, and governance, proving that resistance had lasting impact beyond survival. In this sense, China did not merely fall, it transformed its conquerors through prolonged struggle and unyielding resolve. This epic struggle remains a timeless lesson that empires rise not only through conquest, but through adaptation forged by those who refuse to surrender, even when defeat appears inevitable, and history remembers their courage forever across generations worldwide today.